It's not very often that we get a ground up all new vehicle on the channel. And of course, this week, as you can see here, we have just that. This is the all new definition of the Audi brand. Meet the Audi A6 e-Tron Sportback. And this is riding on Audi and Porsche's new premium platform electric that will be underpinning quite a few vehicles coming down the road. And this is one of the first vehicles to kind of use this architecture, especially in a non-SUV form. The all-new A6 e-Tron is thankfully here in the United States, and we have it in one of the most unique trims, the rear-wheel drive offering. Yes, a rear-wheel drive Audi luxury sedan. Of course, the legendary Quattro is still on offer, but this A6 e-Tron Sportback is one of the most efficient Audis we've ever seen, one of the longest range EVs you can buy in the United States, and a truly unique and impressive luxury electric sedan to add into the now growing lineup of vehicles in this segment here in the United States. So as always in our videos, we're going to take you on a full in-depth tour and review of this all-new 2026 Audi A6 e-Tron Sportback and show you all of the cool features that I've been living with over the course of this week and some of the most interesting things that I'm not too still sure about. Let's go dive in. So what is powering this all-new Audi A6 e-Tron Sportback? Well, under the skin, as I mentioned, is an all-new architecture called the Premium Platform Electric. It was co-developed by Audi and Porsche, and that means it is all luxury and performance focused, and it has all those capabilities as it is a modular architecture. As of right now, it underpins vehicles like this A6 e-Tron Sportback, as well as the wagon in some markets, and it also underpins the Q6 e-Tron, which we get here in the United States, as well as the Porsche Macan EV and plenty of vehicles to come down the road in the future. In this particular case, we have around 100 kilowatt hour battery pack with around 95 kilowatt hours usable. And since this is a rear-wheel drive vehicle, we only have one motor in the back. And just to point that out, that is not a common thing for Audi to do. Typically, it's all-wheel drive or even front-wheel drive. But now we have rear-wheel drive Audi Sportbacks / sedans, which I think is really cool. And it also enables this vehicle to be one of the most efficient Audis ever. Since this Audi is so aerodynamic with a drag coefficient of just 0.23, we can see range figures north of 390 miles of EPA rated range, which is really, really impressive. Now that's with some specific configurations, but this one's still getting pretty good range over the course of our testing this week. This particular one's also making up to 375 horsepower and around 420-ish pound-feet of torque. Those are not light numbers for a entry-level motor variant of this vehicle, as you can still get dual motors, and there's even an S6 e-Tron Sportback available as well. Stepping over to the rear of the driver's side of this A6 e-Tron Sportback, we're going to find our DC fast charging door. Yes, this car has two charging doors. On the driver's side, we have our DC fast charging, and on the passenger side, we have a level 2 only charging with that J177 connector. I believe you can actually use that here as well, but it's kind of cool how on a lot of Audi EVs or the e-Trons, you have those dual charging door capability. It's kind of good, especially if you have a different charger placement at home in your garage or something, and DC fast charging you'll always have on this one side. And the best part about this vehicle is that it runs on an 800 volt architecture. That means charging speeds up to 270 kilowatts. So that means 10 to 80% charge in around 21 minutes, which is pretty good. And since this vehicle in this rear-wheel drive format can, in specific versions, get over 390 miles of EPA range, you're really not going to be needing to worry about range that much on a daily basis, which is really nice to see. Now, since this is an all-new platform and an all-new Audi, and the brand itself is having a really huge design renaissance for themselves, we got to talk about what's going on this all-new A6 e-Tron Sportback. So in Audi's typical fashion, they didn't go too bold with an all-new crazy radical design language. It's still very familiarly an Audi at the end of the day. Some new features that we're going to see is this split headlight design here. We're going to find very commonly throughout the newer Audi lineup, as well as a more flattened Audi logo that now has white rings around it. So it's a little bit more of a distinctive new Audi look. Design-wise, I think it looks kind of clean, very minimalistic, very Audi in that front. Like I mentioned, we have our signature matrix style headlights here. And of course, Audi's strongest point still, I think today, is their incredible headlight technology. Now, you're only going to be able to get these on the higher trims of the A6. This is the Prestige trim, obviously the top trim, and at around only $75,000. I think that's not bad for a fully spec'd out A6 e-Tron. We do have headlight washers, which is really cool, and this upper portion can be customized via the infotainment system to so many different settings of the pattern and design. I think it's a really cool touch there. Also over here, our single frame Audi grille is now just flat, but we do have some kind of textured pattern in there. There's lots of hidden cameras around this vehicle. Now, a really other cool point here is this is a feature we're going to find on all PPE or premium platform electric vehicles is a front trunk, and how you open it is really one of my favorite aspects of this vehicle. All you do is literally swipe your hand on this front area over here and it should open up to reveal a decent amount of frunk space. Joining me with the wheels and tires now on this e-Tron Sportback, we have a few different options. Now, if you really want to go premium all out with range, you're going to want to go with the smallest tire option, and that's locked to a specific package actually. But these are the largest tires, of course, and wheels you can get on this A6 e-Tron Sportback. This is the 20-inch wheels, and there's some funky stuff going on with these tires. Up front here, we have 235/45 tires. Out back, we have two 65/40s, 20-inch wheels all around. I think the wheels themselves are pretty dull-ish. It's, you know, what you're gonna expect with this vehicle. It's more of a stately, luxury Audi commuter vehicle at the end of the day, but we have this Aero style wheel over here, kind of two-tone finish there. But what I do really think is super impressive about this vehicle, and I think this platform, is the suspension. This one can be had either with a regular suspension, or in the case of this fully loaded Prestige model, we have the adaptive air suspension. There's also rear wheel steering. It is absolutely incredible. It's one of the highest strong points of this vehicle is the incredibly soft, compliant, and well-tuned suspension on this car. It's so well planted on the road. I honestly thought it was quattro sometimes. It's really that good. As I mentioned, this is a Sportback vehicle, and you can really see that in the slope of the roofline on this A6 e-Tron. And all of that is actually both helping you with aerodynamics as well as giving you a lot of cargo space. But also what's unique on this vehicle is now we have glowing Audi rings on the back now. So this is a new cool little touch we're going to be finding throughout the whole Audi lineup. And as I also mentioned, Audi has always really impressed with their awesome taillight and headlight technology, and there's no exception here. Now, opening up our rear Sportback hatchback, of course it is power, as you would expect, and it is absolutely colossal, especially compared to even the new Audi A6 sedan. You are getting so much cargo space back here. This may honestly make you want to go for this vehicle over that. Even with the range and all the stuff, it's making a case for itself here. With the second row folded down, you're getting almost 40 cubic feet of cargo space in a vehicle that is not a wagon or an SUV. That is impressive. And with this second row up, it's still a lot of cargo space. We have some side netting storage over here. We do have a kind of cargo cover up top as well. And opening up our floor panel, you're gonna find a little bit more space, but you're really gonna only fit like a charging cable cord back there because we have our subwoofer hidden under the floor. So that's a nice touch there. The whole space is nice and felt lined, very premium, well built. And we also have another kind of privacy protector up here as well. Okay guys, let's go have a look at the rear seats now of this A6 e-Tron Sportback. And I always like to see how wide the door opens up in the rear. That's always a good indicator of how easy it is to get in and out of this vehicle. And it opens, I would say, pretty wide, not a full 90-degree angle as we see on some SUVs, but this is pretty good. Just have to duck my head a little bit from this panel here, and the door thunk sound on this car is really, really, really nice. Have a listen to this. Ooh, that is very satisfying. So here we are now in the back of the all-new Audi A6 e-Tron Sportback. So how is it to sit back here? I have some room under the floor for my feet. It's a little bit squished right now because I do have the seat at its lowest position. But I do have quite a lot of leg space and knee space, which is nice. I also have quite a lot of lateral space to move my legs around, which is also quite nice. The floor itself is generally quite flat. There's a very, very small hump here, but it's really not significant whatsoever. And the seats themselves are pretty comfortable. We have actual leather in this vehicle. This is a black leather option. You can also get a few other color options here. We do have some ambient lighting back here as well, which is incredibly bright. It reminds me almost of like an airplane style lighting back here. And you can see we have our electrochromatic panoramic glass roof here, which has a few different cool designs, which we'll get to in a little bit. But you can see the cutout here is specifically designed for headroom, so your head will fit in the space here, which is quite nice. The center console over here does open up for an armrest, as well as 2 cup holders, which is a nice touch there. Though this doesn't seem to fold down as a ski pass-through until you find that little switch there, and you'll notice it does. So Audi still has retained that, even in the Sportback model, which is quite nice. Also back here, we're getting some cargo nets behind both of the front driver and passenger seats. We do have some harder plastic materials over here, though the rest of the seat back is covered in leather, which is nice. On the door panel front here, this is where I wish Audi did a little bit nicer materials and kind of stuff back here. So we have a harder soft touch material up here. It feels like a injected molded plastic design, though we do have a little bit of a slight ambient light strip right here. We have our Bang & Olufsen speaker back here, as well as an air vent, which is nice on the side over here. We have a hook and no sort of shade or anything, but we do have a nice rear quarter window, which is a nice touch to help open up this cabin a little bit more. And then coming back to the door panel, we're going to find this center portion here is covered in the same leather we're going to find on the seats. Even this little armrest portion over here, which is a nice touch. Some contrast stitching, some more plastic over here, and a window switch as well. We don't even get lock or unlock switches. We have these blank switches on up here as well. Again, the seats, like I mentioned, are generally comfortable. My only complaint here is that, as you can see, my legs are kind of sitting quite up. There's not any sort of thigh support. This is an issue I've had in a lot of EVs, where the seats are just not sculpted, I think, properly. And the floor is higher because of the battery, so you kind of have this effect where you're just like floating your legs up, and it can be a little bit uncomfortable on some longer journeys. In the center console over here, we do get 2 air vents, which are manually controlled. We have a temperature adjustment here, as well as outboard heated seats for the 2 outboard passengers. And as you can see, sitting in this center area here, my head does hit this little kind of island panel in our panoramic glass roof. But sitting back over in the regular seats, I have quite a lot of headspace in pretty much every single direction here. And overall, well, that's it. It's not the biggest space, but I think it's definitely fine. A Lucid Air is going to be way bigger of a space, but I would say this is more along the lines of a EQE or a BMW i5 for comparison. But we really got to go look at the front end now, because this is where the radical new changes in Audi interiors have been made. And here we're going to find a little bit more stuff, more trim, more design on this area versus the rear seats. Same black leather as we saw out back. We have some power adjustment with this plastic panel surrounded over here. Thankfully, we do get thigh adjustment here on these front leather seats, which is manual. And the seats themselves, I have to say, are very comfortable, very supportive, and just I don't get fatigued at all in these seats. Audi does very nice seats. Getting inside the front is a lot easier than the back, actually, because this opening is just absolutely colossal. I'm going to close up the door here, a little bit of a reach. We do have soft close on all 4 doors, actually, so I'm going to let that do its thing here. And you can hear the vehicle has already turned on for me, which is kind of crazy, even though we have a start-stop button here. I'm going to start actually with the door card here, because it's actually quite nice when the ambient lighting is on. We have this split ambient light strip here. We have this gorgeous open pore wood trim on the door, which carries over to the dash. The same kind of injected molded plastic trim up here. And there's this really interesting kind of canopy design that really encapsulate this new Audi MMI system up front here. Again, this is where I have a little bit of an issue here, is some kind of cost cutting. There's a blank switch here where there should be a lock unlock switch. And the thing is you get that on the passenger side. This is the only door in the entire vehicle that gets this lock unlock switch. On the driver's side over here, it's moved to this gigantic haptic touch panel down here, which is a little bit odd of a decision, I'm going to say, from Audi. And this panel combines your lock and unlock buttons, along with your headlight controls, along with your mirror controls, your seat memory, and child lock. And then you have regular physical switches down here in this kind of plastic design for all of your 4 power auto windows. Practice and usability, it's fine. I just think design-wise, I think they could have done something a little bit more pleasing to the eye and just a little bit more special and more cohesive with the rest of this interior design. The rest of the door, though, is covered in the centerpiece with leather, as we saw on the rear seats as well. We have a Bang & Olufsen speaker over here that glows at night, which is nice. And again, harder plastics on the lower area. We have a decent sized area for our door pockets, as well as a rear trunk release. And I do like this really large cubby over here, which opens up. It's felt lined and it's very, very deep, which is a nice little storage space here. And then we come over to this main piece of the interior here, the new steering wheel, the new screens. The new steering wheel is definitely an interesting one for me. We have a leather design wrapped around it. There's kind of like this silver trim on it. And the airbag cover is now only going to be in this plastic material with this now flat Audi logo. Not too sure how I feel about this. These haptic buttons on the side over here, I actually don't have an issue with. I thought they were going to be a little frustrating. They're totally fine in operation. Volume, you can scroll up and down like this. You can swipe left and right. You can also press physically and you get some tactile feedback. The only thing I don't like is this gloss black piece around here. It gets incredibly dusty and fingerprinty, and you can see it in any time the sun is shining. And we do have paddle shifters to adjust some regenerative braking stuff as well. Now, another interesting, I guess, complaint I would say of this interior is these screens are very interesting. As we know, they are curved all towards the driver. It's this one gigantic panel over here kind of on the dash, but they kind of removed all the stuff that made it an Audi. And what do I mean by that? So Audis used to have, if you guys are Audi owners, really configurable virtual cockpits. That's gone. So all you get now is this view or this view. That's it. And all you can do now is change this left-hand panel, so I can make it my recuperation, or I can make it my memory, date and time. This right-hand panel can be navigation, music, or phone contacts. All of that customizability in this area was a huge, huge thing that I loved about Audis even. A lot of that, though, has been placed into this absolutely colossal augmented reality heads-up display, which I'll overlay some footage of. I can't really show it right now while we're stationary, but it's truly wild. And of course, we have this insane light bar on this particular Prestige trim that goes right around the dash. We have some like turn signals kind of blend in with it. Ambient lighting does some cool stuff. You can also turn it off if you don't like it. Also up on the dash over here, we have another Bang & Olufsen speaker, and it does appear to be in this nice stitched material as well, which is nice. You can see some more open pore wood trim up there on the dash. But overall, this is design-wise in this interior. There's a lot of gloss black, a lot of fingerprinty stuff here. It feels well in terms of build quality. You know, I think that feels okay. So over here on the dash, we're getting this soft touch. It feels like the same leather material on the dash over here, which is quite nice. We have contrast stitching there. We are getting manual air vent control. So I actually quite like this. A lot of manufacturers are putting the air vent controls into like a touchscreen infotainment system, which I think is a terrible choice. You have two USB-C ports down here, a 12-volt socket as well. And hidden down here is this wireless charging mat that is ventilated and cools your phone. This whole console, though, down here is kind of like this harder, scratchier plastic. I wish this was like the same like leather material as we find on the seats. And then we come to this gigantic panel of fingerprint mess over here. We have a very slim shifter here. It's illuminated, as you can see. So drive, we have a braking mode, neutral, reverse, and park right there. I have had some cases this week where I've really got to deliberately press that park button to get it into park. We have these two haptic buttons here for our cameras, park assist, auto park assist, and a quick access button for safety systems. We also have a drive select mode here, which works a lot better than I experienced in the S3 we just tested. So we have individual, dynamic, comfort, efficiency. Thankfully, we still have a physical volume knob and track select button here, which is actually quite nice. Everything now is moved into this colossal touchscreen over here. And honestly, I kind of like how this system works. I don't like how everything's shoved in here, but it works pretty fine. All you really have is this main home screen here. You can customize these widgets however you like. Going over to the left, we have this kind of main screen that's always going to be for our virtual Audi assistant. We have an app drawer page here where you have all your apps. There's an app store. You can get to download some stuff in. That's pretty much it. And you have really quick access buttons, which we've been seeing very similar icons on other Audis. So quick access to our built-in navigation, very quick and snappy. It's Google-based. Quick access to our phone controls, quick access to some vehicle controls as well, quick access to charging controls. We have a pretty comprehensive charging screen here as well. You can hear that kind of clicking haptic feedback. And we also have Sirius XM and other audio formats if you're not using a phone projection system. Our Climate controls will always be on this lower panel down here, which I like, and I think this is a well laid out system. Very easy to use for our heated seats, ventilated seats on this one as well, and it's easy access to get to this larger climate control panel screen here. And since it's really close to you as a driver, you don't feel like you're reaching very far to touch anything on here. It's very quick, it's close to the steering wheel as well, so all those kind of movements are very easy to make on this vehicle. We have a notification panel here where we can swipe down. At the end of the day, this is running an Android Automotive OS backed software, so a lot of these similar kind of swipe down features are a little bit intuitive to use, especially if you're coming out of another vehicle that's kind of using this style system. Left hand side though is another different panel. So this is a quick access control panel here. This is where gonna allow you to do things like adjusting your screen brightness and kind of go to a whole bunch of other settings really easy, like heads-up display settings right here. You have a quick access panel right there for that. Same thing with safety settings. You have a quick access panel. You can even favorite some safety settings like a speed warning, distraction warning, so you can always turn those off if you want to, if they're irritating you. And the menu structure is actually quite good, I would say, in this vehicle. We also have a privacy screen as well, which is quite nice, since there's a lot of connectivity stuff in this vehicle, so you can adjust what's accessing your data or not. And we have a quick access panel here to adjust all of our individual display brightnesses, and I really like how you can do that in this car. There's this large master brightness, but you can adjust this display's brightness, this one, your heads-up display, the ambient lighting, kind of almost all independently, which is really, really nice actually. You can also customize all of the front LED daytime running light patterns. There's 8 different patterns to choose from, and you can use the voice assistant, so I could say, "Hey Audi, turn on my heated seat."
Okay, I am setting the seat heating to 3.
Thank you. It's very quick, very efficient, and if we had the full data package that our Tesla does not have, it can use some other advanced kind of AI features, search features, as well as kind of connect to a whole bunch more stuff, but we don't have that enabled on this particular one. And we do have a integrated toll system. I don't know why this one has the Easy Pass, but you can actually sign in through the infotainment system, but I think other Audis before this were able to do that as well. We also are getting up here a panel for our lights over here, which are very bright at night, and our panel here to adjust our electrochromatic roof, which is really, really cool in this vehicle. So as you can see right now, we can have it in this kind of striated pattern here. We can also do it like this, and we can completely close it or completely open it, and it does this really cool, almost like shade opening and closing pattern when you do such action. So that's a really fun little touch there. Our armrest is decently padded. Opening it up, we have that same kind of signature Audi notch where it kind of goes to really any level we want there. Nice solid click. It's a pretty big center console here. It's a lot bigger than it looks. Watch how far back my hand goes into this center console here. It's weirdly deep. It goes like, I would say, about up to here underneath there. So if you want to put larger objects or like a water bottle, it can go all the way in there actually, which is kind of crazy. Same thing with these sunglasses. I could put them all the way back there, or like a charge cord. No felt lining in here. It's all plastic with this little rubber kind of mat on the bottom, but it's actually quite a large storage space. And we do still have a glove box over here, which is lockable. This is all plastic material down here, felt lined, but that is, again, quite a nice space. And that's pretty much the entire interior of this all new Audi A6. And as you can see right now, the vehicle is off. So I'm going to turn it on. I guess the start stop button did come in handy at some point today. Cool animations there we get, and some Audi startup chimes. But here is the passenger display. So there's a few different functions we can use with this display. So right now it's in its kind of wallpaper mode. So now I can also turn it on by touching it, or I can completely turn it completely off by doing that and just touch it to turn it back on, or we can go to the standby screen. And everything's very, very quick and fluid to touch. I do like this passenger display. I don't really like passenger displays in normal senses, but this one has a lot of functionality, thankfully. So if you're gonna get it, it does actually have some benefits to it for a passenger. So yeah, I kind of have almost the same amount of stuff I can see on this screen as on this screen. And I can even control music from Apple CarPlay on here, which is kind of cool. So I have a whole app drawer on here, so I can do the navigation, I can go to the store, I can play my own games, I can watch YouTube. And when I do watch something like YouTube, for example, this screen's gonna dim a little bit, so obviously the driver cannot see it. I believe we can connect headphones and stuff to this as well, but at least it's not in a annoying, intrusive passenger display kind of blends into this cabin quite well. And from this passenger side, I have a lot of legroom. I can really stretch my legs out quite a lot. Again, nice amount of lateral room, and I have a lot of access to everything in this interior, including the climate controls, even though it is a little bit on a curve here. As you can see, this screen is a little bit on a curved area. This competes with a lot of vehicles actually now, which is kind of cool to say. So we have the Lucid Air. I would say the Lucid Air Pure is a direct competitor with this car, as well as the BMW i5, the Mercedes EQE, for however long that will still be on sale in the United States or in the global markets until that's replaced, as well as the Tesla Model S. And this one definitely stands out in quite a few ways. It has quite a lot of range. It's pretty efficient. We have a really low drag coefficient around 0.23. We also are getting an all-new architecture, like I mentioned. So that means an all-new kind of EV experience from Audi. Coming to a stop here at the stoplight, you're going to see we have this adaptive regenerative braking mode turned on, so it knows where stoplights are, it knows where a lot of different intersections are, very similar to how BMW's adaptive regenerative braking mode works. Go off in dynamic mode here. So this car has around and up to 375 horsepower, of course, all going to the rear wheels. You can get a Quattro variant of this vehicle as well if you would like. I did get this car a little bit sideways when I turned traction control off in the rain, but it does not like to do that. It honestly feels like a Quattro most of the time. Turn in and steering is, well, incredibly muted. I have to say, this is one of the most video game-like vehicles I have driven this year so far. The steering is incredibly disconnected from this vehicle. I would have to say, honestly, this is the one of the most disconnected feeling electric vehicles I have ever driven. And in that sense, I give credit to Audi, as they were working to create really an electric luxury isolation pod. And I can tell you right now, they succeeded at that incredibly well. It is so quiet in here. It's so isolating from the road. I literally feel like I am floating. Maybe that's part and due to the air suspension, or part and due to just how quiet this and stiff this chassis is, and how well tuned it is, and how there's like zero input from the steering rack, even though it's, you know, you can kind of tell where you're going, but sometimes I really do have to make some more adjustments a little bit more precisely, because there's that variable steering factor in there, so that virtually can shrink the wheelbase when you're going around corners or in a parking lot. You don't really notice it actually, which is nice. I don't like an overly intrusive variable steering. And again, on the smooth pavement and on all pretty much pavement types, this is a really smooth vehicle. Again, this is a brand new architecture, a brand new vehicle, and I have noticed some interesting rattles and bumps in this cabin. So particularly in this area, if I go over a bump on the right rear passenger side, I get this almost like glass shaking effect. I'm not too sure where it's coming from. I've tapped all of these panels. I'm trying to replicate it for you guys, but it's kind of, oh, there we go. I just heard it right there. It sounds like the mirror is actually like vibrating from the exterior. Visibility is really good. Generally, I would say these A-pillars are quite in your line of sight though, if you are kind of looking out on either corner. And this is one trait I've noticed in the Lucid Air. That car is very aerodynamically optimized, as is this one. And I kind of noticed that same kind of factor happening right here. A lot of this kind of reminds me of the Lucid Air, but almost just dulled down in a sense of being more luxury focused, less dynamic focused. And I do feel a little bit on the smaller side of this cabin here. I feel like the roof is a little bit lower down to me. My seat is in the lowest position right now. And I would say I have a good amount of headroom thanks to this glass roof, but if this glass roof was not there, I feel like I'd be a little bit more even cramped than not. We also have a B mode here, which is kind of a more full one pedal driving style. I really like these turn signal animations that Audi is doing. You can see our massive augmented reality heads-up display, which acceleration is incredibly linear and smooth though, which is really nice in this vehicle. We have blind spot, a lot of safety systems in this vehicle, too much in some cases. There's really no sound in this vehicle as well, even when you're accelerating. So I'll try to get up to highway speeds right now and have a listen to this. You'll also see some interesting animations happen. There it goes. So that was full throttle in the A6 e-Tron. And you can already see it's doing a time interval of the vehicle in front of me. So it's saying, oh, you're too close, get back on that AR heads-up display. Now, I find this to be incredibly distracting, actually, because it happens so much. You can adjust the time interval in the infotainment cluster here, and you can also turn that feature completely off if it is irritating you, but I wanted to keep it on so I can show you guys what it looks like on the highway here. Now, what I was a little disappointed to see in this car on the highway, especially compared with pretty much all of its other competitors, is its driver safety systems. I mean driver assistance cruise control systems on the highway here. So we have this little stalk on the left-hand side. You pop it towards you as the driver, and you can kind of fiddle around with it. I always get a little confused with this thing. I can set our speed there. Okay, I got it. You can see there's some crazy stuff happening in their heads-up display. You can gently tap up for increments of 1, or you can tap up harder for increments of 5 miles per hour. And you can adjust your distance control here as well. Now, all crazy graphics aside, I'll actually expand this view here. It isn't super advanced. Now, I've turned on every possible setting we have on this vehicle here. And it doesn't do some of those, you know, higher end luxury features that I was expecting. It doesn't do auto lane change. It doesn't have a hands-free mode. It doesn't have like all these kinds of functions you're going to find on a BMW i5 or a Lucid Air or a Tesla Model S or even an EQE, for example. And generally it works pretty well. I did notice around some corners it kind of sways a little bit out of the lane, so you do definitely have to keep your hands on this vehicle at all times. I like the heads-up display graphics for this mode here. It's kind of tracking the vehicle, and if you can see on camera, it kind of puts a tracking marker on a vehicle up ahead and kind of follows it in that sense. But I think this is really where this A6 came into play for me, is on the highway. This is a wonderful, wonderful road tripping vehicle, especially if you're commuting on the highway a lot. You got the range, you got the luxury, you got the comfort. The comfort level is truly one of the best I think I've experienced in this class of vehicle. It's way more isolating and more comfortable than the Lucid Air I've experienced, I would say. It's way more isolating and more comfortable even than, you know, like a Tesla Model S or a BMW i5. That is this vehicle's strong points here. It's just so isolating from the outside road environments, from any environment of the exterior. You feel like you're just floating on a cloud.